Hi, welcome to this channel. My name is Grace, and on this channel, typically we talk about biological cells and the microbes that sometimes infect them. I usually do this in the Kikuyu language, and that's because of two reasons. Number one, I think it's really important for me to learn how to speak my mother tongue better, and so I use this as an opportunity to learn. And then the second reason is because I think it's really important to do what you can, especially if you have a mother language that you grew up speaking or that you know. It's important to spend time thinking and of ways to help that language grow. Because the thing is, many of our languages, they are like plants, I think, and it's important to keep watering them and nurturing them so that they can grow and expand to understand and explain the world that we live in. And let me say that I'm not trying to say that these languages are lacking. What I am saying is that they have to grow as we grow and learn. And I think translating science, because it is always growing and always evolving, I think that's a really great way to support mother tongues. And speaking of mother tongues, today is International Mother Language Day. And so today is actually the 25th International Mother Language Day. And so because of that, I am here really excited to celebrate with you guys and to reflect about how important a day this is. If you remember last year, on this day, what I did is I reflected on my experience learning my mother tongue and making science videos in my mother tongue. This year, I am also reflecting, but I'm not making a video. And so what I decided was that for my celebrations this year, I decided to take a more practical, hands-on approach. So what I decided to do was to support other scientists to talk and teach in their mother tongue. So I reached out to the Scientists of Kenya Association, or SCOKA, and I asked whether there were any scientists who were interested in teaching in their mother tongues. And thankfully, some people responded. And so then for the last month, we have been talking and learning about how to teach in our mother tongues. So I mean, I'm not this big expert, but I do have some experience. And so I decided to share that experience and support other folks to give lessons about science topics. And so today, what I decided to do and what I would like to do is to share the outcome of this class with you guys. So what I did for the class is I set up a formal syllabus and a formal structure, and then at the very end there was like a practicum or a practical part of the class, and that was to make a lesson that we were going to release and announce on International Mother Language Day. So that's what this is, and that's what we're going to have today. So this is the first video in that playlist, and there are about 6 videos, all in different languages. So the first person that you will hear from is speaking in Kiswahili, and he is talking about the buruli ulcer. Then the second person you will hear about is going to teach in the Kalenjin language, and she will discuss the topic of antimicrobial resistance, or AMR. Then you will hear about another scientist, or you will hear from another scientist who talks about AMR, but in the Dholuo language. Now, what's interesting about her is that she is really interested in artificial intelligence translation tools. And so for her project, she wanted to use these tools to make a video. But what she found was that when it came time to translate her lesson in her language, the technology was not quite there. So what she found was that the way that the AI technology had been trained was in a completely different dialect than the one that she had written in. And so then everything was all wrong. And so anyway, because of that, what we are going to do today is we just have the subtitles, and then we have an English translation at the end. So that's I think now we're on number 3. And then that's your third lesson. And then your fourth lesson is in Kalenjin again, and this will be about AMR. And then the fifth lesson, also in Kalenjin, will be about the different bacteria that are involved in the process of fermentation. And so what's really cool is that this scholar, she kind of references the traditional fermented milk drink from her ethnic group, which is called Mursik. And so she talks about that in her lesson. And so that's number 5. And then number 6, I'm going to showcase a video from right here on Tonyamutoe Muoyo. And this is the video that we featured last week about hepatitis and Ebola. And basically the video just kind of is structured to say, what are the differences between these two diseases? And we have a dialogue. So I want to draw your attention to the fact that all of these different lessons are super different in their style. And that's okay, because the aim is to communicate to your audience. And different audiences have different aims and they have different things that they work with. And so because of that, it's important to spend time thinking about what your audience wants and what you're comfortable with and what type of approach works for you. And so anyway, that's the advice that I gave to the students, and they just ran with it. So what you're going to see is there's one person who chooses a very personalized, like very accessible approach. So she's sitting in her car, and so she just has a conversation with the listener. And then you have someone else who decided to flex his creativity muscles, and he has this very visually engaging lecture. And then you have some folks that chose a very formal structure. And I think this is especially meaningful because if you grew up on the African continent, odds are that you had a formal lesson in English or maybe German or maybe Portuguese or maybe French, but you probably never heard of like a formal science lesson in your mother tongue. And then our last presentation style is the style where you have conversation and dialogue with your friends. And this dialogue style, I think, is really cool because it's a very active learning process. And we chose this approach because it's accessible and it's engaging, and it kind of invites the audience to learn with us. And so on today's International Mother Language Day, on which we celebrate 25 years of respecting and paying attention to and nurturing mother tongues, I hope that you take some time to really think about, this idea of mother tongues and different languages. And I hope that you take some time to reflect and appreciate the different languages that exist in our world, and that you consider the different ways that you can help to support your mother language of choice or of interest or of reference or of belonging or whatever mother language you're interested in. And so I think with that, I'm going to sign off and remind you to please take some time to listen to the lessons in the playlist. Bye!